My name is Davidson, also known as DNG. And what does it take to be a man? You need to be decisive, you need to be disciplined, you need to be focused, you need to be confident, and you need to be sure about what you want, and you need to have integrity as you pursue the desires of your heart.
My name is Nathaniel Mungare, and what it takes to be a man is that first of all, you must be very determined and you must be very loving and honest. Above all, you must be very intentional about what you do. And being a man is very demanding because you have to take responsibility for every action that you take. So a man basically is a man, and coming from a particular nature of the Kenyan society in many communities, a man then must be able to humble themselves and be able to fulfill God's will as they were created in the story of creation. Thank you.
Hello everybody, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be and based on your time zone. Of course, I am your friend and your coach, Robert Broale, and this, of course, is the All Man Show, the best show in Eastern Central Africa, south of the Sahara and north of Limpopo, by the way of Switch TV, leading station. Well, if you have a problem, talk to me later. As always, we bring men, not perfect men, but men who want to be better today or tomorrow than they are today. Men who will inspire, men who have been through the journey, men who will mentor you by their stories, men of great, great wisdom. Today is no different. And you know what? I'll be doing a lot of disservice if I introduce them. Talk to us, bro. Tuambie wewe ni nani?
Sasa unajua Burale, mimi hapa ni mwenyeji
kabisa,
lakini today I'm taking the back seat, letting you take the lead.
How does it feel?
It's very interesting. You know, for our guest, I actually host a show here called
I would watch.
Yeah, every Sunday at 9 p.m.
Yes.
So it's exciting now to be on the other side, receiving the questions.
Yes.
So my name is DNG, or Davidson Gibwini. I am a youth champion. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business person. I'm a leader in my community. I'm a change maker, and I'm passionate about development. And at the moment, I am vying for MCA of Woodley Kenyatta Golf Course Ward, which is domiciled within the Kibra constituency.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so the time for change, Burale, is
now.
And enough of talking about the problems that Kenya has. We can keep on talking about the problems and the difficulties that people are facing, from youth to women, samahani, to men. Yeah. You know, the community at large is tackling all sorts of challenges, from poverty to unemployment, to economic suppression.
Right.
I call it suppression because the sabotage is at the government level. In terms of, I'll give you an example, like my industry in entertainment, since the lockdown, we are unable to hold events in the name of COVID-19. So we are unable to earn a living because concerts were the #1 income generating activity for entertainers. That's musicians, dancers, DJs, MCs,
the whole industry,
bouncers, everybody.
In fact, hold that thought, because we are going to go really deep today.
Okay.
Talk to us, sir.
Thank you so much for having me at Switch TV, and it's such a pleasure to meet people, two fine gentlemen that I normally watch and follow on social media. Robert, thank you for having me, and DNG, the hype man himself.
Yes.
In this show, oh man.
Yes.
You forgot to say one thing. West of River Niger.
Oh, west of River Niger.
You said north of Limpopo, south, and then you forgot to
next week I will say that.
West of River Niger.
West of River
Yeah, I'm
Niger.
so happy to be here. My name is Nathaniel Mungare. I wear so many hats. I'm a politician, basically. I work with the ANC party of Musalia Mudavadi. I'm the national spokesperson of the party.
All right.
Yes. Essentially, there are so many other things that I also do.
Okay.
But basically, I'm a politician. That's the major thing I would say for my introduction. I'm also running for Member of Parliament, North Mogirango constituency in Nyamira.
On the ANC ticket.
On an ANC ticket.
And you're both young people.
Decided.
And before we get into, because you are great leaders in the community, and many a times we thought leadership was age. 60 years, then you called a leader. But we are evidently sensing a generational change. And I feel that's where we are going as a country. And in fact, the citizens are already tuning their minds into a generational change. Correct. And the baton is being handed over. Yeah. But before we get there to what you're doing for the community, allow me to push you deeper. Tell us about your personal life so that my viewers, I mean, DNG, you've done music, you do music. My brother here, tell us something personal about you guys before now I get into the rigors of what you guys are going to do, because you're in some serious, murky and tough waters.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know what you'd want to know.
Everything.
Where to start?
One thing I'll tell you about the All Men Show is not a gossip show.
Yes.
So I don't ask questions to feed the blog.
Yes.
I ask questions and you tell us what you want us to know.
Yeah. So I've been an entertainer for the last 17 years. I started doing music in the year 2003, straight out of high school. I dropped my first song, after Form 4, and it became an instant hit,
Right.
Samehewa.
Yes.
I won a Cora in 2004.
South Africa?
South Africa,
Yes.
yes, Johannesburg. For the first time, I went to a country where you don't turn the water like this. You put your hands and then you wait
And the water answers.
for the water to be dispensed. Culture shock at the Holiday Inn, man. I was 18 at the time. Went through the motions, joined university, continued doing music. At that time, gospel music didn't have much income. So I struggled to sell cassettes, sell CDs. People not really understanding what kind of music this is, because gospel at the time was that River Road gospel music.
Right.
So me, I was doing muziki wa kizazi kipya, hip hop, rap, and I'm praising God, and people are like, huh?
What is
What
this?
kind of gospel is this, man?
Yeah.
So I joined Kubamba crew, crisscrossed high schools, campuses, colleges, even prisons, man, just preaching the word. And then after that, I went through conflict, personal conflict,
Yes,
and I
sir.
stopped doing gospel music. And because I questioned a lot that I was learning in church, I questioned the dogma, I questioned the rules of the day, and philosophies that I did not feel were biblical.
Okay.
So I started questioning, like, why am I even doing gospel? Why do I want to do gospel? Do I really want to do gospel? So I moved from that into mainstream. I teamed up with my cousin, DNA. We did Banjuka remix.
A great man.
Got into politics in 2007, did the anthem for PNU. I got into emceeing because now, I needed to earn a living. So emceeing became the first time that I was receiving a check for my talent. This is after maybe 3.5 or so years, doing free shows. You understand?
Right.
So I did music, building a brand, getting a huge name, being
But no
written,
money.
but no money. Like, I used to sell my tapes at River Road for 80 shillings, and my capital injection was 40 shillings. So my profit was 40 shillings. Maze, budale. Hata kama nikupenda sana hii mziki 40 bob, nikipanda 40 bob, nikiona 40 bob, nikipanda City Hopper inanitoa Ngumo, inanidrop Kencom, nimelipa 20, kurudi tena ni 20, so hapo nimerudi zero.
You're done.
Na labda tapes zimeuzwa 5. Siko unaelewa, the hustle is real.
But let me ask you, you won a huge award very young.
Very young, at
So the
18 years.
At 18, the expectation was out there.
Phenomenal.
You were in every TV station.
Yes.
Everybody saying, this is the next big thing.
Yeah.
Actually, not the next big thing. This is the big thing.
Yes.
Did that pressure get to you? Because sometimes success comes... I tend to think, this is me
Yeah.
personally, that when you get success much later in life, then you can handle it. What pressures did you get to? Because I know there's a young boy watching.
Yeah.
And they want success like now.
Immediately.
And it looks good. DNG is on TV, doing all
Yeah.
these things. When you walk around the streets, you are known. But talk to us about the pitfalls.
I'd say, I wouldn't say it's pressure.
Yes.
I'd say now I got a limelight very early. So everything I was doing was in the public domain.
Yeah.
From, that time I was 18, going to university. So everything I was doing, all the blunders, all the decisions, moving from gospel to mainstream, everything was amplified. So...
Do you regret moving from gospel to mainstream?
No. I think if I was still doing gospel, I'd be very behind in life.
Why
No
do you say
offense
that?
to the people who sing gospel. I just say because moving into mainstream unlocked so many other doors. For example, it unlocked emceeing. Emceeing has been my biggest income earner from then to now. Because of getting into mainstream, I got into radio. Radio again was really paying well. Remember moving from an artist earning 40 shillings profit to a gig. My first show as where I was paid as an MC, I was paid 5K. It's a big difference from 40 bob to 5,000. Then moving from 5,000 to a salary is even a bigger game changer. Now I
Right.
can afford fuel. I can afford to move into my own house. You understand? I can buy my own
Clothes,
TV.
something, yeah. You can survive.
I can survive. So I kept on moving up. From radio, I moved into television. So I was handling now 2 jobs. From television, I set up my agency. So I have an events company called 254 Entertainment.
Yes.
So we do events and brand activations in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. So it's a big outfit, and we've employed perhaps the hundreds into the thousands over the last 13 years. So
Okay.
name any brand, top brand, most likely I've worked with it. They've been my clients either directly or indirectly,
Okay.
from telco to banks to FMCG to alcohol beverage brands, yani across sector,
Okay.
even government.
Right.
And I'd say if I was still thinking that I want to do ministry, I want to evangelize, I wouldn't have opened all those doors. And then from running my agency, I got into the development space, which is a very interesting paradigm shift, because I was always working with youth from the very beginning, but now I'm taking it to a next level where I'm actually solving problems that my generation is facing. So I set up my first initiative, Hustle Yako, about 2013, 2014, drove it onto a radio station that I was working with at the time, 1FM.
Yes.
And they gave me an hour where I talk about youth employment and job linkage and mentorship, every weekday for 1 hour on primetime radio in the morning, which was a game changer because there was no other station that was doing that was talking to young people. I brought even guys like the Right Honorable former Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya, Raila Amolo Odinga, on the show. Senators, guys like Sakaja, the late Ken Okoth, game changers and disruptors, corporate leaders, community leaders, name it. So from there, I launched it officially in 2017 with Oriflame, got into campus events, town halls, etc. Then I set up my second initiative, Punguza, which is on sexual reproductive health and rights in 2019. I set up my NGO.
So basically,
well.
when I hear you speak, and I'm sure everybody watching is saying,
Yeah.
you have a heart for the people.
Correct.
It's very evident, huh? And I'm going to come back there because Hustle Yak, I want to go deeper into that.
Okay.
And I want to, because you're picking your leadership qualities. Our brother Mongare,
I think
in Kericho High School,
yes,
you're the school captain.
yes, I was.
You went to university. You're a leader in the university.
Yes, I was.
What took you into leadership? Growing up, I've had a Kuku Danger here. There were so many grandchildren. His fighting spirit came from that.
Yes.
Because there are so many, even to eat you have to fight.
Yes.
So he's a fighter. What do you attribute this to? Your personal, there's something personal or private that pushed you into public leadership. What is that?
Yes. And maybe before I say that, I think the deputy president must have stolen the hustle idea from Hustle.
That's a good point.
Hustle Yako.
Because
I
I
think
set
myself-
up earlier before.
Yes.
Before the deputy president.
Okay,
That's
all right.
how it was.
Okay.
It was digital versus analog.
But
Yes.
it's,
Now-
it's convergence of mind.
Ideas.
Of course.
Nobody has a monopoly of ideas.
Yes.
Okay. Now, thank you. I was born in a village in Nyamira, North Mogirango. It's called Nyagokiani village. So I'm a village boy from Nyagokiani in North Mogirango. I'm from a family of, my father is a teacher, retired, and my mom was a community mobilizer. So doing sort of community work. She has worked with Maendeleo ya Wanawake for a very long time, from the early 90s. So basically, I'm raised from a family, I've seen leadership in family.
You grew up in that environment.
In that environment of
Okay.
leadership. Then from a very young age, my parents are committed Christian, just like myself. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist.
Okay.
So every Saturday, we used to go to church. So my leadership started from church. For those who are Adventists, they know we have something called Sabbath school. So we go to Sabbath school. I was a chorister for the children choir, singing before elders. And then that's how I nurtured my confidence to to stand before people. So when I was growing up in Nyamwanchani Primary, I started giving speeches in the school assembly. And then later on, when I joined Kericho High School,
Kericho High School, yes.
From day one, when we were asked in Form 1 who would like to be a class prefect for Form 1 East, I raised my hand and then I was the only one. So I became the class prefect from day one, the first week. Over time, by the time I was in Form 2, the third semester, I became a school captain for clubs and societies and all that. But then I was fired by the deputy principal, Mr. Sanjay. I cannot forget him because I disagreed with him because he used to beat students so much. So I disagreed with him over the beating because I believe a school system should be a corrective mechanism to make students better Kenyans, not a prison or a punishment or a concentration camp.
Yes.
So I disagreed with him publicly, and I was fired on the spot for disagreeing with the deputy principal. And I became an ordinary student again when I was now going into my upper classes. But then that's how my leadership started. So when I joined Moi University, that time, the deputy president was the minister for higher education. So it happened by coincidence that KCSE 2009 and KCSE 2010, we were the first people to benefit from the double intake. So we entered first year in doubled the numbers. We were the largest single cohort in Moi University, I think across the university. So where I was in Moi University main campus, I think we were about 5,000. No, sorry, not 5,000. That was just for one class, for 1 year group. So the first years were about almost 10,000.
Right.
We were double the numbers.
Right.
So when the student elections were called for the Student Governing Council for Moi University Student Organization, I ran for Secretary General because that was the most powerful position in campus, and I had already done the numbers. I had my maths right. So I knew if I can convince my year group only, and then I get the votes.
So the double intake worked to your favor?
The double intake worked in my favor. And then I ran for the most powerful seat. In fact, the Dean of Students, David Mwenje Mureithi, the longest serving dean in Moi University for 34 years, tried to discourage me from running for that position because it was a reserve of seniors.
Right.
But I declined. I told the dean I cannot, forfeit my ambition for this position. And true to my determination, I became the first second year in the history of Moi University to be elected Secretary General when we did our crossfire. That time, we normally do this crossfire. And the very same dean who was discouraging me is the one who made me to win. Because on the crossfire, I was asked a question. You want to be Secretary General. Can you point to us one thing that is wrong in the student constitution? And I said the only thing that is wrong in that constitution is any clause that says as approved by the Dean of Student. Because the dean was unpopular with the student. Then the student, they cheered me, and then, in fact, they carried me because the dean was very unpopular. And that's how I won the position of Secretary General. So that time, I served, I used to sit in the University Council, the highest decision-making organ in Moi University, then the University Senate, where I used to represent students in the disciplinary committee, being like sort of a student lawyer, defending cases for students who have been caught cheating or cohabiting or cooking in hostels. So we used to defend vigorously. So that's how I honed my leadership skills all the way from campus.
Hold on to that. This is a young man determined from leadership in the grassroots. You want to go into the national level. Well, I'm going to ask them some very deep questions. So hold on tight. See you after the break. Of course, this is the All Men Show. I am your friend and your coach, Robert Burale. Thank you very much. I hope you have your nice cup of coffee. Get some warm water because you're about to get up to, I think, 33,000 feet above sea level. I have two great men who leadership was inborn, and they saw the light of leadership from a very young age, but now they want to take it to the next level. Is it time? Are they maybe being too ambitious? Or really, will they get to the promised land? My brothers.
It is time.
It is time. Yes. You've talked about your leadership and high school on day Form 1 East.
Form 1 East.
Yeah, they asked who wants to be a prefect, you raised your hand.
Exactly.
You get to campus, you are the youngest, or you're second year.
The first second year.
The first second year. Right, in the history of Moi University.
Yes.
To go into...
To be elected Secretary General.
That's a very high position in the university.
Yeah, that was the custodian of the student union.
All right.
Yes.
My brother DNG here, you, at the age of 18, are now in a platform with the so-called accomplished entertainers
In Africa.
And that was in South Africa.
Yes.
And then so the weight of expectation was bestowed upon you from the age of 18. But now I hear you young men say you want to go into national politics. You want to run for Member of Parliament.
I'm running.
You're running for Member of Parliament.
Yes.
You even actually introduce yourself as the incoming. Talk about confidence.
Yes.
MCA
Yes.
of Woodley.
God willing.
Let me ask a question.
Ask, please.
Many young people have been voted in. And I'm going to take you guys very deep. And the truth of the matter, some have disappointed. What are you going to do different? The young people are saying, okay, fine. Oh, these guys speak well. And I'm actually impressed with the way you guys are articulating issues. I think that you are doing yourself a lot of injustice. People should hear the way you're articulating issues more. Nathaniel, the same to you. But the question is, there's some young guys saying, okay, fine, these guys are speaking well. We've had other people speaking well. And then we voted them into political office. And all of a sudden,
The
they
MIA.
forgot. Exactly.
It's a very good question. I think for those young people who've been elected in the past and have not delivered their mandate, first and foremost, shame on them.
Right.
We cannot carry their crosses because we're not the ones who are elected. We did not vie and were elected into those positions. So I believe that every man should carry his own cross. If we were to talk about leaders who have not delivered, forget even about the young leaders who are elected, who are not even that many anyway. The ones who have done the greatest injustice are the older generation. I'm not against Wazee, but if you look at the MPs who are delivering zero, the MCAs who are delivering zero, the senators who are absent, the governors who are just stealing outrightly, even at top level government structure, those are not vijana. Who are the orchestrators of all these scandals that we read about? From KEMSA to gas being injected with water, who are those youth?
No.
You understand?
Right.
So I think a lot of people who are anti the generational change use the examples of maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chaps who have delivered perhaps very little or below par to judge us wrongfully. I believe that if we were to gauge the young MP or a young MCA vis-a-vis an old MCA or an old MP, we'll see a great difference. In fact, when I was looking at the best performers in Bunge, there was a list that came out of who are the best performers in terms of articulations, number of times you have been recorded in the Hansard that you spoke something and things you put forward into the National Assembly. Vijana were doing very well on that list. So anyway, what I feel is that what I would do differently is to be accountable. In my ward, for example, the MCA who's the incumbent has not been seen for the last 4 years, despite the MCA receiving a salary monthly for the last 4 years.
4 years.
Those are 48 months. A guy has been receiving chums, but has delivered zero. From the environment, the dirt, the drainages, the poverty, even just the physical presence. Hata kama hauna kitu ya kuletea watu, come to chill kwenye base, utuambie wewe unafanyanga kazi gani. Hayuko. The first time the MCA appeared was when I was distributing campaign or branding material like reflectors and things like that to border riders. That is the first time he was seen in my ward in 4
Why did he
years.
appear? Was he threatened?
No, he's just feeling that, hey, it's hot.
Yes.
The ground is hot, Burale. If you walk in Woodley and ask about DNG, you'll just hear. The word has spread. And for me, I was born in that mtaa.
Were you?
Yes, I was.
Oh, yes, Ngumo.
I was born in Ngumo.
Yes.
I've lived there perhaps majority of my life. I know the Vijana there. I know the Mades. They know my old lady. I know the shopkeepers. You understand? I know that community in and out. I went to church there. I've organized the community events there. You see? So when I decided and declared that I was going to vie, it was a game changer. So now people are telling me, you know what? Hata wewe tayari tunakusupport, and I'm being told this by Mades, Wazee, people with disabilities, youth, across multi-sectors, the corporate guys in the estates, the guys in the slum, because a lot of people who vote there also live in the slum. You understand? So because he had that and he realized that, oh my goodness, there's a very, very, very strong candidate who's interested in this ward. Sasa ndio akakuja na kaunga kidogo.
4 years later.
4 years later kaunga, alafu unga inagawanywa na watu watatu. Kuna vitu zingine ni insulting. Heri hata usikuje.
Okay.
So I feel like the time for change is now, and not just from a rhetoric perspective or from a narrative perspective, like real change. Like if I was to talk to you about environment, Burale, if you've walked around Ngumo, there's a lot of littering, correct? A lot of drainages are clogged because people throw trash into the drainages and the drainages clog, therefore there are foul smells. The runoff when it rains moves into the roads bomoka. So if you just tackle littering alone by putting dustbins every 500 meters and engage the county government that is responsible for cleaning to periodically pick up this trash, wouldn't you have solved that problem in its entirety?
Absolutely.
So it's a mix between community engagement for people to understand that littering is wrong and that littering has XYZ consequences, and also engaging the executive, which is the Nairobi County government, because that's their mandate. They have the guys who do garbage collection, who are on payroll, and you wonder why isn't the garbage collected. You understand? So it's a mix between ensuring that laws that are passed at county level, that's the bylaws, are they are acting to prevent these things from happening, but also to enforce. And I believe like sometimes as legislators we should go over and beyond being in bunge to actually find out from that department that is dealing with the environment within the county, mnachukuanga takataka siku gani,
yes,
ili tuhakikishe kama ni Thursday at 2 p.m.
the takataka is outside.
Tukikuangojea hiyo lori ya kuchukua takataka actually imekam. Right. Na isipokaa mnapigia director fulani na muulizaniaje,
what's going on?
Mbona gari ya takataka ijakuja? Na kama ni dustbins, even if the county government is totally broke and cannot afford to put them, we can engage corporate Kenya, because kuna watu wengi wanatengenezanga mabati katika nchi hii who can be able to say, you know what, we're going to donate X number of dustbins, and we mount them and we get vijana, create employment, pay them a few 100,000 shillings to do it.
I'll come back to you, Nathaniel.
Yes.
Ni nini ambacho utafanya tofauti? I mean, what is the ground shifting? Are there some ills and some things that you think you need to make right?
Yes, a lot.
So somebody's watching. This is somebody who has a vote.
Exactly.
And in South Muri?
North Mugirango.
North Mugirango.
Yes.
There's somebody watching. Akona kura yake anasema, okay, fine, convince me.
In 2016, immediately after campus, I ran for Member of Parliament, North Mugirango.
All right.
The fire in my belly was too much, so I went and ran on an ODM ticket. I even met Raila in his office in Capitol Hill and pleaded with him that let's have fair party nominations. So it never went the case as we pleaded. So Charles Makuti, again, the former MP, who had a lot of connection and money in the party,
okay,
got the ticket. So I abandoned the quest in 2016. And when Musale was coming around the country that time, popularizing NASA, the National Super Alliance then, telling his CORD brothers, they were in CORD coalition that time, that let's unite and form a formidable opposition to sweep out Jubilee from power. I joined him in the campaign rally in Nyamaiya Stadium, and that is the first day I was noticed by Honorable Musale Mudavadi because of the speech that I gave around the fly whisk. And then I started campaigning for him because I had abandoned my quest that time. So we moved around this country and we had a very clear manifesto that personally I was in the technical team that drafted. It's called the Road to Canaan Manifesto. The one that was abandoned at River Jordan by the ODM brothers. Ile ya mamba. Ati kulikuwa na mamba River Jordan.
Yes.
Now that manifesto of Road to Canaan spoke into so many issues that personally, if I were a legislator in an ANC government, I would have made sure that we implement certain decisive and clear program of action in government to make sure that we, first of all, accelerate economic growth. Remember, Robert, in 2013, the Jubilee government promised an array of issues that time. One of them was a double-digit economy every year, meaning an economic growth above 10%, 1.2 million jobs every year, every financial year. But that is not happening. Now, the work of a legislator, a member of parliament, is first of all to keep the government on toes, because there's a principle of separation of powers. That's the first thing. Number two is to represent the aspirations of the people. And number three is to oversight the executive and other arms of government. That is the work of a legislator. So these are the things that we need to do. So there are so many unfulfilled promises that we have seen in government. Now, the Road to Canaan manifesto that was betrayed at River Jordan by the ODM brothers and Raila Amolo Odinga, all of us were to go to Canaan to eat milk and honey. But unfortunately, there's only one person who is eating milk and honey alone today.
Two people.
Two people. Let's say two people. There's an unholy alliance between Jubilee and ODM,
okay,
who are now, sort of having sweeping powers in this country. They can change the tax regimes. They can change the VATs all of a sudden, the fuel, and this is causing a lot of issues in the economy. So the major issue that personally as a legislator next year, because I've put up a serious campaign on the ground, is to sort out the issue of the economy. If you look at the statistics from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, right now, about 16 million Kenyans who are capable of working do not have a job. So the first thing to do is to look at the government programs. These budgets that are coming to Parliament, what is this money that we can reallocate to sectors of the economy that we can revive to spur economic growth, so that we have a lot of more of job opportunities going to particularly the young people who are capable to work but they can't work. DNG here is in the entertainment industry. The fundamental question we need to ask ourselves is, there are many young people who are very talented. We have not tapped into the talent, the creativity, the innovation of young people. What can we do, especially from even Parliament, to make sure that we tap into the creative industry? We've seen our counterparts like Tanzania. The young people in Tanzania, the music is paying them very well.
Yeah.
The richest musician in Africa, Davido, from Nigeria, it's talent that is paying him. So the question that we should be asking,
In fact,
what is Nigeria doing
that we are not
Kenya
doing?
is not doing in terms of regulating the creative industry and tapping into the talent and creativity of young people?
Please get a pen and a paper, because we are being schooled here by these two young great leaders. Do you agree with what they are saying? Are you feeling that they're speaking from a very honest place? There's passion. Do you think the future is the young people? See you after the break. Of course, this is the All Men Show. I am your friend and your coach, Robert Burale. Thank you very much. I'm here with some two great men. You're hearing the wisdom they're spewing. Sounds very good. Have you had this kind of conversation before? What is different this time? Well, you're hearing them saying that there are things that you want to put in place, to make sure employment, because government of the day has not lived up to its promises, based on your words. And I know many are agreeing with you, others are disagreeing with you. I don't know. That's what leadership is all about.
In fact, Burale, the government of the day has not delivered anything.
You think so?
Yes, apart from lockdown and thuggery. Let's be critical. What has this regime done since the last election?
But hasn't it been just a very difficult time, because nobody expected this
COVID-19
pandemic to happen? So they are on job training. Every president, every leader.
Anyway, Burale, COVID was last year, 2020, correct?
Yes.
The last election was when? 2017.
Okay.
So we've had some time between 2017 and 2020 to deliver something. So all that has been delivered is the handshake, as he has alluded to. We have the lockdowns and KEMSA scandals, where guys were being given tenders at the reception. Air tenders. Have you ever heard of an air tender, Burale?
You're just
where you just walk in and say, "Mazenyaji, mimi niko ndani here tupige deal." That's why for me, I feel like, and I wonder, what does Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta want? What does he really do?
But let me ask a question.
Ask.
I just want to play crazy here. Fine. It's easy to look at the leader, but then we forget the other leaders. But let's go back.
The ministers and the PSs.
Absolutely. Let us go back to the citizenry. Let us go back to the voters. Because these guys did not put themselves there by force. No gun was put on somebody's head. Educate the voters then. Because then we are complaining, but we are the ones who lined up to vote that MCA, vote that MP.
6 piece.
Exactly. Then do we need to change?
I set up an initiative in this year, 2021, in February, called Who's Your Leader? It's something that had been burning in me for quite a bit of time, but I decided, this is the moment.
Right.
So Who's Your Leader is an initiative that's about mind change around leadership and governance. So a lot of people say that we voted in the best choice out of the worst options. So that's what guys were saying in 2017.
The best among the devils.
That there were two people and we chose the best.
The lesser
and
evil.
afadhali kuliko who? That's what a lot of Kenyans.
So where is the problem
saying.
for us as voters?
So
because we're the ones who complain later.
That's it. So now the mind change has to be, done by us. By him in North Mugirango, myself in Woodley Kenyatta Golf Course, by you on national television, and all other parties that need to come together for this one goal. Now, when we were younger, we'd see civic education happening. We used to see theaters. We used to see road shows. We used to see town halls by civic society and sometimes even government. Right now, there's no civic education. There's been no civic education on BBI. There's been no civic education on perhaps if there were to be a referendum or to the questions be. There's no civic education about 2022. Believe it or not. And you can show me. Even the community serving organizations or the NGOs that are dealing with leadership and governance, none of them has come out to say that we're doing a civic education program countrywide. Not even one. Why? I feel like there is a concerted effort to perhaps hoodwink Kenyans and to ensure Kenyans do not have access to the right information about what good governance and servant leadership should be. Now, if Kenyans are not engaged and if they do not understand, the role of an MP, the role of an MCA, and why they should participate in civic action, then we'll have a Kenyan voter who is going to the ballot not really understanding what they're going to vote for, but they're just, all they get is the hype. That kuna hii chama na hii ndio do imemwagwa, kwa hivyo wacha tuone nani atachukua hii kitu. So that is not civic education in my opinion. I feel like civic education should be issue based, and Kenyans need to reach that level where they're voting for Nathaniel because they believe in what Nathaniel is saying, not because of his party or his tribe or his I don't know, his second name.
But even as you say that, Nathaniel,
yes,
you have said it clearly. You've been involved with these politicians.
Yes.
Some of them who Kenyans are complaining about, the older generations. What are you doing from the inside? Because sometimes you got to pour the right oil in the engine to clean out the bad one. So now a young person is saying, okay, fine, unataka nikupatie kura yangu next year. Lakini umekuwa nao wasi. Umesimama kwa jukwaa nao. Ni nini kitu gani ambacho unafanya that will convince me as a voter that this is the guy? You articulate yourself very well.
Yes.
We see your leadership journey, just like my brother here, and it's very clear for everybody to see.
Yes.
But you need still to convince that voter.
First of all, the foundation of this country was started in a wrong footing. In 1963, even before that, because we were still a dominion of the Queen, represented by a Governor General, the founders of this country, the so-called founding fathers, they started this country on a wrong footing. We had very brilliant leaders like Tom Mboya in 1965 who came up with a session of paper number 10 on economic development. South Korea stole that paper and took it to the session of paper number 10 of 1965.
Done by Tom Mboya.
Tom Mboya. They came and stole that paper. Actually, it was a benchmarking tour. So South Korea came and took that paper and implemented as it was envisioned by Tom Mboya. Right now, South Korea is they are exporting Samsung and all these electronic materials to Kenya and many other parts of the country. The reason why I mention that is because there is a structural and a total degeneration in the leadership of this country. There is a total deficit between the leaders and the citizens. And citizens also have a role to play in this total degeneration of the system. Because the point should be you should interrogate first before you elect somebody. But then again, you cannot blame the voters because they have found themselves in a very vulnerable position. Right now, after this show, if I showed you my phone, I will have more than 300 missed calls. Because there are people who are calling. They are either, in my language, you call it Ogosera. All over from the villages, Iteresi, Getengereiri, Nyagukiani, Kenyoro, all those villages that are currently transversing to campaign to look for votes.
So you call them Ito?
Sorry?
You call them, there's a name you said.
Ebinyoro.
Meaning what?
Villages.
Okay.
Those are in my language.
Right.
Now, the reason why there is this structural problem is because people don't have opportunities. Disposable household income. The men we are talking about, the all men. Right now, a man going to the house does not even have money to even feed the family. Because the disposable household income has shrunk because of the government decisions. Just a classic example. The government, since in the last 8 years, the public debt has risen to a tune of 10 trillion. Right now, the government is in parliament, pleading with parliament to raise the debt ceiling. Because the debt ceiling was put at 9 trillion, now the government is requesting to be put at 12 trillion.
And we are only collecting 1.7 trillion.
1.7 trillion. And in fact, during COVID, I wanted to mention a point that the DNG mentioned. During COVID, in 2020, the last financial year, the government collected more than the previous year. So when talk about there is no money, how come the government is collecting more money, KRA is collecting more money in a COVID year?
Okay.
It's because of the issues of the government having a mentality that big budgets reflect big economies. So the issues, and this directly to the voters, I made a choice to support the Road to Canaan manifesto in 2016, and that was a democratic choice because it is in the constitution that every Kenyan has a democratic right to choose any political side.
Absolutely.
But because we've seen the kind of betrayal that is going on, and Robert, currently I can tell you in my party, even though we are not in government, I'm working with our legislators in parliament to develop those what we call bills that they have sponsored. For example, we have a bill that is currently pending in parliament that is being sponsored by Mheshimiwa Sakwa Bunyasi, MP Nambale in Busia.
That's where
it's
it
called
from.
In Nambale.
Yes.
So Sakwa Bunyasi, and I've been in his mtu wake wa mkono. We've been drafting a bill called the Public Debt Management Authority Bill. It's at the second reading in Parliament. it is meant to regulate government's appetite of borrowing kiolelaolela. Serikali kutembea dunia mzima na bakuli ya kuomba.
Okay.
We want to make sure that if the government is borrowing, because the reason why I'm mentioning this, because it's a generational issue. We, the young generation, are going to inherit this public debt. So that by the time these leaders are exiting the stage, we will have a very huge public debt. We will be unable to, for every 1 shilling we collect, we will be spending about 60 cents to pay public debt.
Okay.
So that means 40 cents is remaining for internal administration
split across.
and the
And
counties
it's not
and all
enough.
this. So it is going to strain even economic growth that is supposed to create job opportunities for young people. So there is so much we can do, and given an opportunity to be in parliament next year, and I'm not sitting, I'm already campaigning. I'm moving, I've mapped out my agents in
Both of you already
every
campaign.
polling
Okay.
center. And you'll see Robert next year. You'll be very surprised. My MP, the current MP, I don't want to badmouth him,
Yes.
but he has never spoken in parliament. I've been following all the proceedings. At worst, he is a member of the library committee in parliament.
Okay.
When my voters are farmers, he should have even been in the agriculture committee
Okay, fine.
to talk about the issues of farmers.
Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, if I was a voter in your area, you'd have my vote.
Thank you.
Because you have articulated very well. To the viewers, do you see a ray of hope, a ray of sunshine? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? If these are the leaders we are to go by, are you seeing a baton being handed over? DNG and Nathaniel have articulated their issues very well, and we will, by the way, put you to test. We'll make sure you are accountable. There's some questions we'll ask you when we get there. If I call you, please answer my call.
All the time.
If the border guy calls you, please answer.
We have the advantage of time.
If that farmer calls you, please answer the phone call.
Exactly, especially the tea farmers in North Mugirango.
Fantastic.
The Kebirigo of tea farmers.
Umesema.
Yes.
This thing, the internet never forgets. This will be on our social media platforms.
Exactly.
Tutauliza maswali ngumu.
Exactly.
Next year ukishasema na hapa ya kwamba. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your coach and your friend Robert Broale. This is, of course, the best show in Eastern Central Africa, south of the Sahara, and north of Limpopo, and the what?
West of River Niger.
And west of River Niger.
Yes.
By the way of Woodley.
Yes.
And where?
And North
North
Mugirango.
Mugirango.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We shall see you shortly. What is the most interesting thing you own?
My car.
What was your first job?
Being a musician.
What compliment do you receive the most?
Your energy.
Who would you say is your favorite Kenyan old school artist?
Isa.
What is your fondest childhood memory?
Going on to restaurants to eat pizza and drink milkshake.
What are you most scared of?
Dogs.
When did you first realize you had a passion for leadership?
Maybe around when I started doing Hustle Yako initiative.
What is the one thing your mother taught you that you hold to this day?
Be honest, don't steal anyone's money.
Using one word, what would you describe yourself as, or how would you describe yourself?
As outgoing, as a game changer.
What advice can you give to young artists trying to get into the music industry?
Make sure you save more than you spend.
Thank you, Mr. DNG. Nathaniel,
Yes.
what is the most interesting thing that you own?
My phone.
What is your favorite sport to watch?
Football.
What criticism do you receive the most?
The most. That I'm too honest.
Given the option, excluding politics, what other career do you think you would have pursued?
I would have made a very good evangelist and pastor.
Ronaldo or Messi?
Messi and time.
What is the one fundamental thing you have learned about being a leader?
Being a leader is listening to people.
What was your favorite meal in campus?
Mayai and ugali.
If you had one chance to change something from your past, what would it be?
I'll change nothing. Because I've learned from all those.
Using one word, what would you associate the word success with?
Success. Satisfaction in achieving your ambitions.
What advice can you give to young leaders trying to get into politics?
Into politics, you must be very patient.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nathaniel.
Yes.